1160 WCCS.
I feel like I got to be an amateur psychiatrist here for Jon Mozes, the Altoona Curve. Dr. Ralph May was here earlier talking about how we could turn a whole new page, a whole new leaf on the year once we get to the summer of the season. And we're going to do it with the Altoona Curve and Jon Mozes. Our visit this morning presented by Marcus & Mack, voted best law firm and best personal injury lawyer 3 years in a row on the Best of Indiana County contest. Visit them online at Marcus & Mack. John, is there still a baseball team playing in Altoona?
There sure is. We're going to play 2 tonight.
2 tonight.
Yeah.
You said the same thing yesterday.
Well, that was the hope. Yeah. Unfortunately, we got a real big thunderstorm at a bad time, couldn't get the tarp on completely, and then the field was sort of unplayable because there was, just a few more showers, later and later throughout the night. It was really unfortunate to have to suspend a game after 2 innings yesterday, but I think the one good thing that comes out of it for the Altoona Curve is pitching coach Matt Ford should be rewarded as the Eastern League pitching coach of the week because he looked at the forecast and said, it might rain in the first hour of game 1. Let me put our starting pitcher in game 2 because that way, if we have to go into a delay, we don't lose our starting pitcher. And sure enough, Jared Bayless started the game, went 2 innings before the rains came. Po Yu Chen is still available. He's probably going to start one of the games tonight. I haven't heard officially which one he's going to pitch in. But, you save a starting pitcher, a guy that, you can feel pretty good about getting 5 or 6 innings out of.
Yeah.
And that'll be the hope tonight.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, speaking of starting pitchers and playing very, very well, and certainly the pitching coach has a lot to do with that. How about Wilbur the other day? Wilbur Dotel was amazing.
The 4th time this season he struck out 8 batters in the start. He continues to get a lot better. It took about an inning or 2 for him to get going, but then all 3 of his weapons were working. 6 scoreless innings on Wednesday night. Oh my God, that's the only game we've played to its completion this week. And he was absolutely brilliant. 8 strikeouts, no walks. He commands his fastball so well that he's just not walking guys. And, when he gets to a 3-2 count, he is consistently in the strike zone and challenging hitters and not giving them free passes. So that's been really impressive to watch this year. I would say he's one of the 3 or 4 best arms that are in the Eastern League this year.
Well, you've seen a lot of guys come through Altoona in the last couple of years here with the Curve. Is there someone that you've seen with the Curve or somebody within the Pirates system that when you look at Wilbur Dotel pitching, you say, that's a guy that pitches just like whoever that other fella is? Who does he compare to?
It's interesting. I had this conversation with Preston Shoemaker, my broadcast partner, after his 2nd or 3rd start of the year, and I was like, he looks a little bit like Osvaldo Bido, who the Curve had in 2021, and a little bit like Luis Ortiz. He's sort of like a combination of those 2 guys, and for those that may have lost track, Bido has been an effective starting pitcher for the Nomad Athletics for the last couple of years. And obviously Ortiz established himself as a major league starter before he got traded to Cleveland this past offseason. So Dotel has the look of a guy that, could be, maybe your 3rd or 4th starter in a major league rotation. 2 great weapons, high fastball velocity, the ability to sink it. He throws a ton of strikes. It's been really impressive to watch. So I'd say it's sort of a cross between Ortiz and Bido for me.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad thing. So we get to watch him maybe for a little while longer. The problem for all these great pitchers with the Curve, and it's a good thing for the Curve, is that there's so many talented arms at Indianapolis that there's really no place to move them up at the moment.
That's right. I mean, I would think that there's going to be a slot in the major league rotation for Bubba Chandler at some point, probably after the trade deadline. My suspicion is that Andrew Heaney is a trade candidate for Pittsburgh, and then Bubba slots into that spot. So yeah, it is good for the Curve in the short term, where a guy like Wilbur Dotel or Po Yu Chen if they're throwing the ball very well. You know that there's not an automatic slot to go up to AAA in the short term. We're not that far away from getting Anthony Solomito back to Altoona. He pitched a rehab game in Bradenton earlier this week. That'll be really helpful to get Solomito back. And there's probably a chance that we'll see Carlson Reed at some point this year. He had a back injury at spring training, and he's, sort of back to full strength, and he's going to probably make a couple more starts at Greensboro before he comes to the Curve after he wrapped up a minor league rehab.
Yeah, didn't he? He went, 5 1/3, 5 2/3, no hit last night.
Oh, wow. I hadn't looked at the box scores yet today. Didn't realize Reed pitched that well last night. That's great.
Yeah, he was really good. Hey, tell me about Blake Townsend. He had a good outing the other day in a bullpen game.
Yeah, Blake's sort of an interesting guy. He comes from Australia originally. He had been pitching with the Mariners. The Pirates signed him after he got released in August. He doesn't really have the big fastball velocity that we're getting used to. Unfortunately, our video board sometimes reads his fastball as a changeup because he works in the high 80s. But he has a terrific slider, and it's got big movement on it, and he throws it for strikes, and he understands sort of how to manipulate it and throw it out of the strike zone. He did a really nice job for the Curve last weekend, filling in as a bullpen day starter, going 4 innings. It's his longest outing in, probably 4 seasons. He's a guy that has a chance because he throws a lot of strikes, and that slider is very, very good. Right-handed and left-handed batters both have trouble with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I noted that the other day, and I thought, that's a guy that you tend to lose track of. And he's one of those fellas that doesn't have great stuff, but that on a pitching staff, say he gets up to a pitching staff one day where you got fireballers, you got Skeens throwing 1,000 miles an hour, and a couple of other fellas that are really throwing in the upper 90s, hitting 100, and then you toss that out there, and batters have a really hard time adjusting.
It's funny. I was having a conversation with a scout from a National League club who watched him work last week, and he was saying the same thing. He was saying, it's hard to project him as a guy you must have on your major league roster, but there is a role for him because you can slot him in, just like you're saying, behind. Could you imagine him following Jared Jones or Paul Skeens or Bubba Chandler, right? Somebody that is power fastball, and then he comes in throwing 88, and it looks like he's throwing 68 to some of the hitters.
Yeah, you put a guy like that on the right staff, and you got something pretty special. Okay, so
no doubt.
So you've got doubleheader action tonight to complete the suspended game. You're going to pick that one up. What, the 3rd inning?
Yeah, that's right. It's a 2-1 game right now. Mm-hmm. Richmond leading. We're going to play this game to 7 innings, and then another 7-inning game after it tonight, beginning at 5 o'clock. They end up having to cancel the second game of the doubleheader last night because of field conditions. Unfortunately, neither team is in the playoff race, so there isn't a push to play all 6 games in the series and sort of burn out the bullpens.
Yeah.
Gary Green made a great point to me last night. He was like, "Look, this is player development. That's why we're here, is to develop these guys into the best players they can be." And it probably doesn't make sense for us to play 5 games in 3 days again, like we did a month ago in Akron.
Yeah, you're right. And you don't want to call that either, because you're probably going to have 14 rain delays through the course of it.
No more rain delays. That's what I'm looking forward to about the second half of the season, because the records will reset after Sunday in this week's series with Richmond. We can sort of have a clean slate, and it's looking like it's going to be pretty hot and sticky next week when we're down in Chesapeake. So it's gonna be summer. There's going to be no more rains. I'm looking forward to a month or 2 without seeing a tarp.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad thing at all. And as you do get the second half of the season underway, pretty soon you're going to have a big switch of players. The draft will come along, and guys will be shifted all around. You'll be seeing some new faces, too, with the Curve. I know it was good to see Ciani back in Altoona, and you want to get him swinging again. And it should be fun for the Altoona Curve this weekend and moving forward.
Yeah, getting Ciani and Jace Bowen back into the lineup this weekend is really helpful. I think that lengthens the lineup. Both those guys were playing pretty well at the time that they each went onto the injured list. So that'll really help. And obviously, Greensboro has played really well. I've kept my eye on Esmeralyn Valdez this year.
Wow.
He's got 17 homers at Greensboro. He's a guy that I think is starting to make a bit of a name for himself in the system. I don't know what the potential is for Connor Griffin to play for Altoona this year, but goodness, I mean, that guy's just hitting everything in sight, it seems. It's fun to watch Greensboro play so well. And you're right. I think there's a couple of guys down there that could trickle into Altoona in the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. And I predict you'll see Griffin in the last 2 weeks of the AA season.
It's possible. Listen, I mean, the same story happened for Tamar Johnson last year.
Yep.
Where he arrived for the last 3 weeks of the season. I don't think that's a crazy thought given the way he's playing. So we'll see. Hopefully he can keep it going. And, if he gets to Curve, PA, that'll be pretty cool.
Cool. Hey, Jonathan, we got to go. Talk to you. I might even see you tonight. Have a great day.
Look forward to it. See you, partner.